Welcome back, guys. Thanks for checking out another video. Again, if you haven't done so, would love it if you guys subscribe below so that you can get these sort of updates and these ideas, these sort of windows into the classroom. Today's topic is all going to be about these learning targets, which as a social studies department, we're using this year. So come along for the ride and learn about learning targets. Learning targets, what are they? So these learning targets are a little different than when you and I went to school. These are taking the grade. So if we had history back in the day, you just sort of got one grade, boom, you get a B+ in history. That's not a real usable data point for us teachers or for the students to really understand what they need to improve on in the future. So as a department, we come up with sort of these 10 targets, these 10 things for students to sort of aim at. 5 are historical based, so 5 of them are things like, for example, change in continuity. What has stayed the same over history and what has changed over history? And around that sort of learning target, I would build an activity or a lesson or some sort of assignment or task to see if students can demonstrate their understanding of change in continuity over that particular unit. And then this starts to see patterns over the course of the year where we could have meaningful discussions with the students, like saying, you're doing really well on change in continuity, but you need a little more work on, and then we can talk about all these learning targets. Really helpful and really good, but kind of different than how we went to school. Next is, how are these scored? How are learning targets scored compared to ours? Because we used to just have that old, 90 to 100 kind of scoring when I went to school. I don't know about you, but this is scored a little different. These are scored 1 through 4, but we really want to get students and you guys, well, really, to be honest, we kind of want to get away from looking at those numbers and really towards the feedback. So we really want to focus on the feedback. The number is just a sort of boiled down little data point, but the important thing for you guys to know and for your child to know is that the score is really 3 means you understand it. 3 means you get it. 2 means you're working towards it. You had several of the components, but you were still sort of missing a little bit. 1 means you're really off the mark, and we need to really reevaluate and look at that. 4 is sort of off the chart. So we really want to make sure you guys understand that the goal is not for students to score 4 on everything. That would be unrealistic for them. It's an unrealistic picture and expectation. To be honest, it might even be an unrealistic expectation to score 3s on everything. They're learning, they're growing. Which brings us to our next topic on these learning targets, which is way different than when I went to school. You guys the students can reassess these targets, but not all the targets. So I want to make sure you guys understand that. Any of the thinking like a historian targets, those 5 history ones, those kids can reassess at any time. So this is a history class. It is about mastering that content and the skills of history. On the flip side, the more life skill ones, which are things like collaboration, communication, creativity. These are life skills that are going to get scored in those categories, and it's really important that students understand that those cannot be reassessed. And this is trying to have that blend of sort of personalized learning that they can reassess the historical components, but on the other hand, the life skills of doing your best and bringing your all in the moment. So those life skill ones, which, about being a good student, learning through the process, those can't be reassessed because they're snapshots in time. How did you, communicate on that day? How did you bring your all in the process of the project? Did you use your work time wisely, or were you kind of goofing off? That's a meaningful data point for both me as a teacher as well as a discussion point for you guys. So we want those to not be able to be reassessed and just sort of glossed over. So it's really important that the students get that, and we've discussed that in class, and here's sort of a good video to kind of further explain it for you guys. And I really hope you guys realize that this is like a partnership between us, right? that you can have these discussions with your child. Is there anything that you need to reassess in history? That's a question you could ask. Now you might wonder, like, how are you going to find out if you or if your child could reassess? That is on a learning target sheet that's been shared with each student. So these learning target sheets are a great place for me to communicate with your child how they're doing on these various categories. So the students can see this. It's a Google sheet that's been shared with them. They can just search their Google Drive for history learning target sheet. It would pop up. They would see it, and they would be able to see how they're doing in history at any time. Some of the data points look different. Sometimes it only displays feedback, so I want them to read the feedback and see if they can reassess or if they're doing well or on point. Sometimes it does show the data point of like the actual number, but it is a great spot to sort of keep track of this, and they have access to it all the time. So it's a place that in class, I don't expect an 11-year-old to sort of keep track of all that at all the time, but it's a place in class we've discussed about and something that they know they have access to. And in class, I often say, like, let's use these 5 minutes to sort of check over our learning targets and read the feedback. So they all know if they have to reassess, if there's something they should redo. And it has worked really well in the past to have students have ownership over their learning. So excited to sort of bring you on this adventure and show you that your students now have this and kind of extend that partnership and encourage your child to sort of be looking at that and going through the reassessment process if there's something that they need to reassess. But that's on them, and we want to keep it on them. That's the whole idea of sixth grade. They're moving into that middle school. We're trying to give them a little more responsibility, but it's this partnership between us. I am reminding them almost daily to look at their learning targets, to take attempts at reassessing some of their skills, and to bring their all on a daily basis for those life skills that they can't reassess. So I hope this gives you a good sort of window, a better understanding of these learning targets so that you understand what the students are experiencing in class and places that you can kind of motivate your child. Again, thinking back to that purpose-driven learning in the last video, are they applying their focus? Are they bringing their confidence and creativity to class? These are all important dialogues to have with your child, and it so helps when you have them at home and I have them here. When they feel that synchronicity is awesome. So again, I encourage you to watch that video if you haven't already and refresh yourself on those words and use those words. And talk to your child about these learning targets and are they applying themselves on those. So until next time, we'll see you later.